200,000 Lithuanian Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. The Lithuanians who managed to survive in the ghettos and camps all have and had incredible stories of courage, love, and bravery to tell. Before one of Canada's respected immigrants, Ruth Siegel, passed away, she shared her family's survival stories with journalist Keith Morgan. The result is a personal, poignant, and inspiring memoir about triumph over evil called Ruta's Closet. It is my pleasure to welcome Keith Morgan to Studio 4 to tell us more. What a journey this must have been for you.
For me, indeed it was, yes.
How did you meet Ruth Siegel? Ruta Siegel.
Yeah, my editor at the Province said, I want you to start a new column called Your Neighbors, people who make a difference. And some family friend mentioned Ruth's story and how she spoke to high school students about her tale of survival. And my daughter Rachel piped up, "Oh, Daddy, I remember her. She's really good." So I went to interview her, and some parts of her story haunted me for the next couple of years. This was in 1997. And finally in 2000 I said, we have to do more with this story.
And was it difficult to convince her to go into those dark periods, into those dark places?
No, she'd already made that decision some years earlier. She explained to me that she got into her 50s, that time when we all reflect on our past, and she saw what was going on around her in the world. You know, we saw more Rwanda, you know, more genocides going on, and she said, I had to speak up. I had to tell the next generation what I went through.
After decades of silence.
Decades.
You know, I had the privilege of knowing Ruth Siegel. She was, for 25 years or so, head of the UBC Women's Resources Center. I know she had a degree in psychology, bacteriology, was it biology? A wonderful woman.
Yes, indeed.
Amazing, formidable woman.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Yes.
No wonder. Tell me her story from the beginning. The family, father, Mayor.
Yep, Mayor
Mother, Gita.
Yes, they lived in a place called Šiauliai in Lithuanian, which is Shavel in Yiddish, and that's in central Lithuania. And quite a successful family. He was a chemist, engineer, you know, dealing with leather goods, and unfortunately in 41, Hitler decided to invade in Operation Barbarossa, and initially they tried to flee, but a Stuka
in a horse and cart
prevented them, and they had to turn back and went back to their small town, and then became captive for the Germans and ended up in the ghetto there.
And tell me about life in the ghetto, what you could learn about life in the ghetto. I know you weren't there, but I know that Mayor, her father, kept a journal.
He did. He kept a journal.
What were the rules in the ghetto? Let's start there.
Well, they
everyday change.
Yes, they mirrored exactly what was going on in the rest. Jews didn't count for anything. Jews had no rights. They were captive. They were slave laborers, and they were shipped out of the ghetto every day to various workplaces around the town and forced to work there, and then returned in the evening, surrounded by a barbed wire fence. Very little food. A lot of smuggling going on for obvious reasons, trying to survive. That was daily life. The kids ran wild. I think thought it was wonderful initially. I mean, they just ran wild, no school, and waited for mum and dad to come home with food every night.
And most of the Jews had been displaced, so the Nazis and other, I guess, Lithuanians were living in the beautiful homes and their residences, and legal looting, really.
That's what it was, and they decided they had to rid many of the towns in that area of the Jews. They'd served no purpose to the Nazis, so they had to be got rid of, and they were shipped. Those that survived in the ghetto were the lucky ones. The rest couldn't fit in the ghetto and had no purpose to serve for the Nazis, were basically shot in the woods.
And the children?
Yes, the children survived for a time, but after a couple of years or so, it was decided that they weren't needed either. So they sent in, they did what was called a kinder action, and surrounded the ghetto once the parents were out at work, and sent in their henchmen and started to yard out every child there was, and anybody else who was sick and infirm. and put them on the trains to Auschwitz.
Yes, and yard out and murder. Most of those children didn't survive.
No, very, very few, handful.
Tamara,
Yes.
Ruth's sister, it's an incredible part of the book, perhaps the saddest.
That's what
For
made me
me.
write the book.
Really?
That was the thing that haunted me, her separation. She was in her 8th year, Ruth, and her sister was 4. What a responsibility. She'd followed the parents' guidance in terms of hiding her sister and herself at the first sign of trouble. And
This was after the
Interaction.
edict had
yes,
come
well,
down.
she as soon as the ghetto was surrounded, she'd been taught that she was 7, taught at 7 to react to that. And her grandfather was home, shunted them off, and Ruth grabbed her 4-year-old sister and headed to Uncle Wolf's place that was a bachelor pad, right? So, and hid there in a closet. Hence the name.
Hence Ruta's
Yes.
closet,
Yes,
the closet
yeah.
of the mind,
Yes.
and literally the closet, because there's many stories about survival in closets in
That's
any
right.
Holocaust, for sure. So Tamara and Ruta, or Ruth, were both taken away on a truck.
Well, what happened was
So how
that
did,
they spent many hours there, and of course, as 4-year-olds do, they get fretful, and I think it was quieting down outside, and Ruth decided that it was time to go back to the house, such that it was,
sure.
the hovel, and so they emerged. Unfortunately, there was a jail opposite, and the guards on the jail spotted them, and within seconds, the dogs were there. And they were thrown on the back of the truck, ready to go, probably one of the last trucks of the day to go to the station. And something remarkable happened. Ruth was taken off the truck, but Tamara wasn't.
And she said to you, it's something she will never forget.
No.
Her sister crying and waving, and a part of her, and it's the child in her, obviously, was sad. She didn't get to go on the truck.
She did. She missed out a ride in a big truck. The conflicts in her mind. This is a kid in her 8th year on Earth, and she's facing this responsibility for her daughter, for her sister. What were her parents going to say? Were they going to blame her for the rest of her life?
And what did happen?
Well, Tamara went off to Auschwitz. We know that. I retraced her steps and was gassed. Ruth was taken back quickly to the house, was hidden there, then hidden in the factory for a few days, and something else remarkable happened. I mean, this is a story of many remarkable miracles. A family had arranged for their daughter to be saved by a school teacher. And when the school teacher came to pick up their child, they said, can we just keep our child for one last Shabbat, one last Friday meal together? And the woman said, okay, I'll come back next Friday. That Friday was the day of the kinder action. Their child was taken. Those parents worked in the same factory as Meir Krohn, Ruth's father, and they went in the next day and said, our child was taken. We heard that your daughter was taken off the truck and saved and smuggled out. There's no reason why she couldn't take our daughter's place. And that's what happened.
With a Catholic family.
Gita, mother, went to the factory. They spent a few nights living under the machines and then was smuggled out. And the child was handed over to this teacher.
And this teacher would have been, I'm sure, killed or probably killed had anyone discovered she had rescued a Jewish child.
Her entire family would have been killed, executed. What happened there was that there were a couple of meetings. Prior to them going out, Gita went out to sort of negotiate this and plead with this woman to take her. And she said, I will have to clear it with my husband. And she went home to Antanas in the schoolhouse, and she told him, we have to take this child. And he said, you realize that we could very well have this child for the rest of her life. And so she's thinking, this is where he turns around and says, no.
Right.
But Antanas said, we will treat her as our own and bring her up as our own and love her for the rest of her life.
And how did they hide her in a sense, or protect her so that somebody didn't discover or rat about the fact they had a Jewish child?
Brought her in at night, kept her in the closet during the day because she had a very Jewish accent. Tried to speak Lithuanian with a Jewish accent.
Yes.
And so their first order of business was to teach her to speak Lithuanian like a Lithuanian. So she would sit in the closet in the kitchen and do her classes, while next door, the schoolhouse, lots of little Lithuanian kids were there doing their school. And this went on for many months, and every so often when danger came, Ona would shut the door,
Right.
or she would flee upstairs
Yes.
to her hiding place.
You know, when I read about the Holocaust, I often wonder if I would have the guts in a situation like that to harbor somebody knowing that if it was found out, I'd be dead, my children would be dead, my family would be dead.
I went to meet Ona in 2000. Antanas, unfortunately, was dead by then, but I interviewed Ona on two occasions at great length. I spent a week with her once. And, you know, I put that question to her. It's the obvious one. And
Yes.
she just turned around to me and said, well, it was the right thing to do. As though I just asked if she was loaning a cup of sugar to somebody.
Right.
It was just the right thing to do. So I did it.
Well, there were such interesting partnerships, as you know, because somebody who was not Jewish but who knew how wrong it was, a doctor or somebody who had made acquaintance with earlier before any of this happened.
Yes, you know, and the thing that disturbed me so terribly when I was doing the research for this book is how neighbors turned on the Jews. You know, neighbors who were supposedly friends, neighbors who became part of these firing squads, who executed the families. I mean, it was just, there was so much collaboration. It's terrible.
It is terrible, and this memoir is not terrible, it's wonderful in the sense that it's one of the, who said it? It's one of the finest Holocaust memoirs, and who said it is Churchill's biographer.
Sir Martin Gilbert.
Sir Martin Gilbert.
Yes. He's been a mentor all the way through the process. I got to know him very early on, and he just became a good mentor and opened a lot of doors for me terms of getting to the right people.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk about some of those doors, because it's incredible how you did the research and put the story together, and it's horrific and it's hopeful.
It is.
It's both. Ruta's Closet. We'll come back.